expecting the CS for education today. Maybe you can clarify what happened, because communication from the Secretariat had indicated as much, and there were questions that were directed at the CS.
Senator from Nairobi, that is the problem of not attending your committee meetings. You're a member of SBC, and this is a matter that was discussed at
Speaker, I am not a member of the SBC, please. I attend committee meetings. Okay. Don't soil my reputation. You know that I left the SBC after serving for 2 sessions.
Okay, if you left SBC, then let me give you what transpired.
Please, but Speaker, you have to withdraw that I do attend committee meetings because my reputation is on the line. If it was a slip of a tongue, you just admit, Honorable Speaker.
Senator for Nairobi, do not go on overreach, please. I understand that you served in SBC committee, and it is only recently that you left that particular committee, and therefore you may not have the advantage of knowing what transpired yesterday at SBC. Just to inform you that when SBC sat yesterday, it considered a letter that was written by the CS Education. It is true what you said, that indeed the CS of Education was expected to appear before the House this morning. However, in that particular letter, he indicated that he will be involved in the drama gala in Nakuru as the Minister of Education, and therefore he will not be able to appear before the House. You know, the drama festivals actually fall within the Ministry of Education, and that is happening in Nakuru, and therefore, as the CS in charge of that docket, he cannot be able to be with us because he is the one who is actually midwifing and managing that particular event. And having deliberated the letter, the contents of the letter, the SBC found it fit to accept that reason as a valid reason. And that's why you cannot see the questions in today's order paper. I believe the Senator for Nairobi, that is satisfactory. We acknowledge that you're no longer serving in the SBC, and I want to state to the people of Nairobi and the people of Kenya that you always attend your committee meetings. If that will help your politics, so be it. So let's proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I stand to raise a question in the Minister for Information, Communication and Digital Economy. Question number 055. Could the Cabinet Secretary state the strategies in place for the establishment of network connectivity in Todonyang, Merukuka, Natete, Lepeimukat, Natira, and surrounding areas to facilitate real-time security response and support the Kenya Defence Force, National Police Service, and local community. B. As the Ministry engaged with telecommunication providers such as Safaricom and Airtel to fast-track the deployment of communication masts and system in this high-risk location, and if so, what are the timelines for completion? C. What actions are being taken to ensure that the security agencies, including KDF and NPR, have reliable and secure frequencies and communication channels to respond effectively to security threats in the region? And D, what immediate intervention will the Ministry take to bridge the communication gap before the full deployment of network infrastructure? Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Honorable CS, you may now proceed to respond.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And indeed, as you said, I am familiar with this area, and I shall respond with your permission, Mr. Speaker. On the first question on establishment, and Mr. Speaker, kindly allow me to mention that there is an annotated document which was forwarded in this morning, and the only difference between the first answer and this one is where we have said certain things will happen. I asked my ministry to be able to put those things in perspective of time allocation for when those things will be done. So with your permission, I may respond, sir. The ministry, through the authority, interventions under the Universal Service Fund, USF, has successfully established a mobile cell tower in Todonyang, which is currently on air and providing mobile services to the surrounding community. Mr. Speaker, the authorities' coverage, according to the authorities' coverage data, Natira sublocation enjoys over 80% area coverage. To further address connectivity needs, the authority will conduct quality of service assessment, which will be done within the month of June 2025 in Marikuka, Natete, Lopei Mukat, Mr. Speaker, and Natira. The outcomes of these assessments will inform structured engagements with mobile network operators aimed at enhancing service delivery in the identified areas. On question B, Mr. Speaker, whether the ministry engaged in telecommunication providers such as Safaricom and Airtel to fast-track the deployment of communication masts and systems in these high-risk areas. In response, Mr. Speaker, yes, indeed. In line with the regulatory mandate, the authority requires licensed operators to extend services through universal service obligations embedded in their licensing conditions. Additionally, Mr. Speaker, the authority has provided direct support through USF, facilitating the deployment of mobile network infrastructure in such areas, notably under the Cellular Mobile USF project as follows, Mr. Speaker. 1, Phase 1 extended mobile cellular services to 10 sublocations, namely Nakoret, Nakurio, Lokangai, Lokudule, Lopusiki, Naposomuru, Kapus, Naipa, Loikipetot, Arengan, and Nadome, which is Silali. Phase 2, Mr. Speaker, technology is covered, Todonyang is covered under Phase 2 that has extended cellular mobile services to 13 sublocations, namely Loreng, Lortit, Puch, Nanam, Oropoi, Loremiet, Loitanit, Todonyang, Kataboy, Lorengelup, Kayamanik, Loduat, Namoraputh, and 5 sublocations within this phase, namely Kangitit, Ngilukia, Katilia, Loperot, and Kalapata are still under the acquisition and are scheduled for implementation in the financial year of 25-26, Mr. Speaker. Phase 3 plans to cover 10 sublocations, namely Loboi, Lomiyan, Liwan, Kaitadet, Nadunga, Lokipoto, Loito, Mogila, Lotubai, Ekidor, and are still under site acquisition and are scheduled for implementation in the financial year 2026-2027, Mr. Speaker. Phase 4 plans to cover 16 sub-locations, namely Lochor, Edome, Atala, Kamusio, Tukwel, Locher, Ekeni, Katiko, Riakamor, Kokiselei, beg your pardon, Mr. Speaker, Nachukui, Lomekwi, Kitelomate, Namor, Kirionok, Tarach, Kanaudong, Napiakar, Koyasa, Kaitede, and these that are still under tendering. These ones are still under tendering and are scheduled for implementation in the financial year of 2027-2028. On question C, the actions to ensure security agencies, including KDF and NPR, have reliable and secure frequencies and communications, Mr. Speaker. In response, Mr. Speaker, the authority assigns dedicated and secure frequencies to security agencies upon formal request. These frequencies are located on an exclusive basis, thereby ensuring reliable interference-free and secure communication channels for national security operations. On the next question, Mr. Speaker, about immediate interventions to bridge the communication gap before the full deployment of network infrastructure. In response, Mr. Speaker, the authority plans to undertake a field assessment within the month of June 2025 in the areas identified as established current communication gaps and requirements. Based on this assessment, Mr. Speaker, the authority will engage with licensed operators to explore interim measures, including possible network optimization and quality of service improvement initiatives to ensure short-term connectivity support as broader infrastructure deployment continues, Mr. Speaker. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, the authority remains committed to supporting national security, public safety, and digital inclusion through targeted regulatory interventions and strategic partnerships. The measures highlighted above demonstrate the ongoing efforts by the authority through the Universal Service Fund and collaboration with licensed operators to enhance network connectivity and ensure secure, reliable communications in high-risk and underserved areas such as Tondonyang, Merikuka, Netete, Lopei Mukad, and Natira. Moving forward, Mr. Speaker, the authority welcomes continued engagement with the Ministry, the Senate, and other stakeholders to address emerging challenges, accelerate infrastructure deployment and connectivity, ensuring that communication services are accessible and responsive to the needs of both citizens and the security agencies. I submit, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Lominan, you have a chance to ask 2 supplementary questions.
Chair, my supplementary question, after listening to the submissions of the Cabinet Secretary, could the Cabinet Secretary explain to this Senate why has been the delay of establishing network in the border areas of Turkana County, and even not Turkana County alone, even in the nation. For example, there is poor network in border of Kibich and Ethiopia, Nadapal, border between Southern Sudan and Kenya, which is Lokchogyo. At the same time, in Logriama, a place called Urum, which is bordering Uganda and Kenya. And this delay of establishment of network in those border areas has really became cumbersome for security forces to act when a problem or incidents has happened. It becomes difficult for them to assist the citizen in that place. So when will the ministry establish a border network to confirm to the citizen that security services will be available anytime?
Honorable CS, you may respond.
Mr. Speaker, I appreciate the supplementary question. And in response, Mr. Speaker, the ministry's emphasizes very much on connectivity of high security areas, and indeed the entire country, Mr. Speaker. But for areas where we do not have fiber optic, Mr. Speaker, we are working with satellite providers like Starlink, ATC Mast, so that we can use their facilities to be able to give connectivity, especially on the mobile platform. But you realize, Mr. Speaker, that we have a plan to run 100,000 kilometers of fiber optic. But on those areas where there are security issues, we rely on our collaboration, Mr. Speaker, with the other providers like ATC, Safaricom, Starlink, those that have capacity to do satellite provision of services. Mr. Speaker, I submit.
Senator Daniel Manzo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Now, Honorable CS, just note down the questions, because I'm going to allow about 10 senators to ask questions. Thereafter, you will rise to respond to them at a go. Proceed.
And first, let me thank the Speaker for taking the Senate to Turkana, because this question is very familiar. And Mr. Speaker, when we were there, a lot of committees visited the county. Mr. Speaker, I would like to welcome the CS and ask him, now that security is very much connected to communication and is in charge of communication and to an extent development, what is he doing about that so that the Turkana area and the big potential of having big towns there and big hotels in the future can be realized?
Senator Mungatana.
Asante Bwana Spika. Waziri, mimi ningependa kukuuliza, tangu ulipochukua mamlaka hiyo, and congratulations and pongezi kwa kupewa hiyo nafasi. Tunafurahia sana wale wenzetu ambao tulikuwa na wao wakipewa hizo nafasi. Swali ambalo tungependa kuuliza ni kwamba tangu ulipoingia pale, je, wizara ama wewe umetoa mwelekeo wa namna ambayo hizi simu za rununu na telecommunication itafika katika Kenya nzima, haswa sehemu zetu za hizi gatuzi ambazo ziko kando kando? Kwa mfano, sehemu yetu ya Tana River, utakuta ni katika zile miji mikubwa peke yake ambao unapata simu za rununu zinafanya. Ukianza kuingia ndani kunaingia shida. Sasa nilikuwa nataka kuuliza, je, kuna mpangilio mwafaka, mpangilio maalum katika wizara ambayo umewekwa na pesa ya kusema mwaka huu tutaweka pesa fulani Tana River area hizi ambazo hazijashikwa na simu zipate. Mwaka ujao itakuwa ni gatuzi lingine. Mwaka wengine, je, kuna mpango mwafaka? Na kama huko, tafadhali weka kwa meza ama table ili tuione na tujue huo mpangilio na pesa ambayo serikali imeweka kwa ajili ya kueneza. Sio sisi kuja kuuliza maswali, yani tuwe na mpangilio sawa sawa. Waziri, tueleze. Asante. Asante.
Senator Wambua.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as a journalist of good and long standing in this country, I would try to be very clever, Mr. Speaker, because this is a very wide area. I would try to squeeze in it one question. If I fail, just pretend it's one question, Mr. Speaker, so that I can pass a message. It's an important one, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker,
just ask one question, only one question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the ICTCS is a CS in the 21st century Kenya, not some banana republic in the region or elsewhere. An era where everybody is talking about speeds of communication, not planning to establish networks. Mr. Speaker, my concern, which is now my question, is at what point will we put to an end the planning phase and begin now to deal with current issues of enhancing the speeds of our communications? We cannot be talking about we are planning to roll out network connectivity in the 21st century. That is something we cannot do. Mr. Speaker, can he table, maybe in the next time that he appears, a comprehensive list of regions in this country that are not even covered by 2G, because those regions are there, that we know who we are, Mr. Speaker. I thank you.
Senator Kathure.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the question listed by our colleague from Senator for Turkana County is very, very important in this era. Mr. Speaker, besides those pockets in Turkana County, we remember, especially in Loktang, just the other day there were killings in that area. And one of the reasons why maybe that happened is because there was no proper communication, such that the bandits who came from Ethiopia invaded a village that had no communication network. It is the responsibility of the ICT ministry. It is the responsibility of communication authority to ensure that our service providers have connected networks across the country. And that is why we have this Universal Service Fund, Mr. Speaker. When I was a member in the National Assembly, I cited this fund when I was the chair of Special Funds Committee. And Mr. Speaker, what we established is that a lot of money is just lying in this authority. And I remember that time, the end of state then, President Uhuru Kenyatta once made a remark that that money should be given to the police because that money was lying idle. That was, I think, in 2021. Mr. Speaker, there is no reason at all that some areas have no communication. There is an agreement between the service providers like Safaricom, Airtel, and the rest that they should do that coverage within a specific time, Mr. Speaker. So this question raised by my friend Romanen is very important. There are many other pockets, even the high potential areas, even where there is no, they are not remote rural areas. Even in Nairobi, there are some areas with no network. In Meru, my house itself has no connectivity where I live. So it is very shameful in this era that we have such pockets in this country without connectivity. So my question, Mr. Speaker, is this. what does this money do? Universal Service Fund. How is it distributed across the country? It is in billions, of course, I know. It is in billions. My friend Kabogo Waziri, it is in billions. Your people should give you facts and figures because you enjoyed the ministry the other day. How do they distribute this money, Mr. Speaker? Because sometimes they go and do labs for computer labs for a school where maybe they know they come from, the officers at the ICT. They do another one where they are known. They do another somewhere else. Mr. Speaker, I want you to give a ruling that they should provide in the last 5 years, where has this money gone? In which counties, in which areas of this country, Mr. Speaker? Fortunately, I didn't know about this fund, Mr. Speaker.
Senator for Meru, you've asked your question. Now you're making a
I wanted to sink into the management of that
no, the CS
USF.
The CS has understood you. Just give an opportunity to the CS to respond to.
Yeah, but okay, Mr. Speaker. Must obliged, but maybe if I get another opportunity, I should still hammer this thing because, Mr. Speaker, I know that fund does not go to the right places. That is why even in Malsabit, so many areas have no connectivity. That money is not used prudently. Universal Service Fund. It's in billions. Every time you make a call, Mr. Speaker, like this, 1 minute, some money goes to the fund. It goes to the fund. Even if you call you receive or you make, there is some sense which goes to the fund. Where does this fund go to?
Thank you. Senator for Nairobi.
You know, Honorable Speaker, we are talking about far-flung areas and security, insecurity-prone areas, but I can confirm that my mother-in-law does not have network at her home in Matungu. And it becomes very embarrassing, sometimes very difficult for her to video call her 8-year-old granddaughter. So it is a nationwide problem. So I wanted to understand, Honorable CS, there was a time when we were told that Telkom Kenya was going to be the one in charge of rolling out the national fiber optic network. Why are you relying on these private entities like Safaricom and Airtel to roll out this national fiber optic network when you told us that Telkom Kenya had been charged with that and they should have capacity to roll out that infrastructure? I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Senator Boni.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, allow me to congratulate my brother, Governor CS William Kabogo, for coming back into the public space. We have a long history together. I want to further congratulate you, CS, for assuring us that you are doing everything possible to improve network connectivity. CS, given that after connection, the service comes at a fee to the consumers, what are you doing in view of the obscene profits declared by Safaricom and Airtel? What are you doing to cut the cost of mwananchi using those services?
Senator Dulo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I wish to take this opportunity also to congratulate the CS. CS, my question is on more specifically northern Kenya, where there is insecurity. I know CA has done some good job, specifically in my county, after pushing them for the last 13 years in communication with them. They have actually put up several boosters in certain areas. So my question is, there are so many areas in northern Kenya where people are still climbing trees to communicate. What plans do you have? Because an attack can happen now, and people are unable to reach for any assistance. Do you have any plans to make sure that those areas have connectivity? Thank you.
Senator Wafula.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I just want to ask our good CS that the far-flanked zones of the great county of Bungoma similarly enjoy networks from their neighborhoods. What are you doing to ensure that Bungoma, Mount Elgon, Sirisi, and parts of Bumula, bordering my friend Sifuna's in-laws, we enjoy coverage as other Kenyans? Thank you, Honorable Azide.
Senator Okoito Mtata.
Honorable CS, my question is with regards to connectivity. What attempts are there to use satellite technology instead of relying on terrestrial technologies to ensure universal connectivity for Kenyans, irrespective of where they are? We have seen this thing coming in sometimes to be very, very heavy. During elections, when you are told that some areas are not covered by network. So what efforts is the government of Kenya doing to engage in satellite technologies that can enable us to have universal coverage? Thank you, Bwana Waziri.
Senator Wamatenga.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to ask a question to my friend CS William Kabogo. My question is, noting that the government has committed itself into providing Jitume hubs across the country. Tetu sub-county in Nyeri received the 51st one that was launched some times back. The young people and living around that area are using it. However, the connectivity, because of lack of fiber optic connectivity, and the speed is very low. What plans does the CS have to ensure that all Jitume hubs enjoy high speed so that the young people do not spend a lot of money on slow speeds to upload their work? Thank you, Bwana CS.
Senator Lelegwe.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is related to what Senator Dulo just asked. But specifically, could the Cabinet Secretary clearly clarify the government policy and any specific plans regarding the expansion, strengthening of mobile network coverage in areas affected by insecurity, particularly in the northern Kenya and Kerio Valley counties, where cat rustling and related insecurity threats remain prevalent? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Abbas.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, network coverage actually is a very important thing. But today, everything and every shilling that you're paying to this country goes through e-citizen. And most of the Kenyans, actually, especially in peripheries like northern Kenya, Turkana, one of the largest areas, does not have network. Now we are being told to pay school fees through e-citizen. What is the plan from the ministry to connect, to improve on the connectivity so that Kenya, the other Kenyans, especially in northern Kenya, can enjoy the service of the e-citizen? Honorable Speaker, Safaricom has a huge profit every year that it's making. CA is receiving a lot of money that is idle, as it has been said. The government is getting a lot of taxes. But the problem is this country, half of it, Mandera, Wajir, and the Turkana, is actually 20% of this landmass. And there's no network. Insecurity is there. People are being killed every day. Chiefs are being kidnapped. Policemen are killed just because they cannot get rescue due to lack of network. So what is the ministry doing to improve and urgently improve the services of network coverage? And why is it that Safaricom has a monopoly for providing networks for this country? Thank you so much.
Senator Morgo.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity
to ask my question, and congratulations, CS, for being appointed. My question concerns the coverage along West Pokot and the border between West Pokot and Uganda. Ugandan coverage is so powerful that it comes into 5 kilometers or even 10 into Kenya. And so it begins to chew your money right away. You make a call, by the end of it, you run out. So why is it that the Kenyan side is weak and Ugandan is powerful?
Honorable CS, you may now proceed to respond to those questions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As I attempt to answer clearly and giving details, but I also, Mr. Speaker, want to undertake that we shall supply comprehensive answers to these questions within the next 3 days so that every member's question is properly answered. But I shall attempt to answer. On the first question, Mr. Speaker, why the delay in establishing networks in borders of Ethiopia, South Sudan, Uganda, hinder security forces? When to establish networks? Mr. Speaker, we are not planning. We are actually laying fiber. And as I said earlier, Mr. Speaker, we target to do 100,000 kilometers of fiber. And this is happening between ICTA, which is the ICT authority, and Kenya Power. And why Kenya Power, Mr. Speaker, is because as I came in, I found that it was established, Mr. Speaker, that doing it through Kenya Power over last mile would have been quite easy and faster. So we actually are on top of it. And on the issue of those areas that have digital divide, which have no coverage, is where we are working with satellite providers, like we just licensed Starlink, which is very widely used even in urban areas. And we hope to continue to collaborate with them for places where we have not been able to reach our fiber optic. Mr. Speaker, on the question from Honorable Manzo, security is connected to communications. What he is doing, what I'm doing to support development of these towns, especially in Turkana, Mr. Speaker, it is through this fiber optic that we would want to connect the entire republic with high-speed and reasonably priced internet. But we shall give a detailed plan, or not plan, action that is going on to connect the republic. To my friend, the Honorable Mungatana, how telecommunications will reach in the areas like Tana River. Mr. Speaker, we are already laying cable to those areas. We shall give the Honorable Member details of where we will have reached by the end of this month and what we plan to do in the next 3 months. And Mr. Speaker, the activity is very well funded by several projects, donor projects, World Bank and others, and also use of the USF fund for the purposes that it was set to be used. A few members have said, Mr. Speaker, that a lot of money lie idle. We should be able to give the same details of what has been spent in the last 5 years and what is happening now with the USF fund. It is my commitment that that money shall be used in accordance with the law, but also to make sure that Kenya is completely connected. I think it was Honorable Enoch. Space of communication, at what point will be end planning stage and enhance action? As I said, Mr. Speaker, it is now that we are connecting. We are not planning. We are connecting Kenya now. We have very little funding from GOK, Mr. Speaker. But as I said earlier, we have development partners who have interest in seeing that we stay on top of this business. As you know, Kenya is probably the most advanced country in terms of connectivity in Africa. But we do not want to be the first ones in Africa or number one in Africa, but play at the global space. We are doing it in phases, Mr. Speaker. State to stage, which is yearly what we have done every year. We have done already 3 phases. And Mr. Speaker, we shall provide the details. From Honorable Catherine, I think. You may excuse me, Mr. Speaker, if I didn't get the name right. It's a responsibility of CA to ensure connectivity in the whole country. Money is lying idle with the authority. We should provide how money has been spent. I have given that commitment, Mr. Speaker, that we shall give the entire details. And that's why we are deploying fiber and last mile connectivity project. And a commitment of 10 billion shillings has been put to ICTA and Kenya Power Lighting Company, the details of which we shall provide, Mr. Speaker. The breakdown for the last 5 years, as per the request, will be given to Parliament in the next 3 days. The money cannot be misused. It's guarded by the licensee, who are the responsible agency. Mr. Speaker, that is a commitment given to me by the DG, who is part of the support team I have here. And I shall take him to task to be able to give that information to the House, Mr. Speaker. From Senator for Nairobi, Honorable Sifuna, it's ICTA which is doing it, not Telecom. I know there was a last connectivity to hubs and government institutions, especially the centers of excellence in constituencies. But Telecom itself has got huge problems where they may not even be able to do that last mile. We are now doing it with other providers. And government is committed to making sure that all 53,000 connections to government institutions will be done probably before the end of next year through fiber. Also necessary to state that we are working with most companies like the American Towers to be able to provide part of the 25,000 public Wi-Fis. Mr. Speaker, to note is that some of the public Wi-Fis, when I came in, most of them were not working. And the reason being, Mr. Speaker, is that the part of sustainability was not considered during inception. But we are now trying to release these public Wi-Fis to young men and women who will man them and probably have a small fee of 5 shillings or thereabouts, so that they can keep them lit. Because internet is available, it's just a matter of making sure that they are working. I think Honorable my friend Mheshimiwa Bullfighter, what are we doing in the view of absence, view of obscene profits, that what we are doing to cut costs of connectivity? Mr. Speaker, we have told these undertakings to lower calling rates and data packages. That negotiation is happening between CA and the providers. But as I said earlier, we prefer to connect fiber optic, which is government internet, to most of these places so that it is reasonably priced or almost free for the public to use high-speed internet, Mr. Speaker. This, they say, is currently ongoing and in phase 4. Many places in northern Kenya, Mr. Speaker, climb trees. I think it was Lady Mheshimiwa, I can't remember the name. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I note Honorable Fatima. We are currently, again, not planning, but we are laying cable, and where we cannot do because of certain reasons like security, Mr. Speaker, is where we intend to use masts that are already there and use satellite internet provision through Starlink and those that have recently been licensed by CA. There was a question, Mr. Speaker, on Bungoma, what we are doing to ensure there is connectivity. The plan, Mr. Speaker, as the rest of Kenya, is to lay fiber. We have issues, Mr. Speaker, on efficiency of ICTA and Kenya Power. And I have them in my office almost every other week, Mr. Speaker, trying to push on this issue of last mile. And we hope that we should be able to pull up our socks to deliver on this very noble and important mandate. From the Honorable Matinga, Mr. Speaker, connecting Gitume hubs, yes, we are on top of it. We are connecting all Gitume hubs and one in every constituency, and more so, those are centers of excellence. But we also plan to do 1,450 digital hubs, one in every ward. And that is happening in collaboration also with the members of parliament who amended the law to allow them to use CDF to construct and us to provide the link. And this will be done with government Wi-Fi, which will not be paid for by the Gitume hub. So we're on top of it, Mr. Speaker. Government policy, Mr. Speaker, on expanding mobile connectivity in northern Kenya. We are working with security agencies and mobile network operators to deploy. And what our plan is to improve connectivity in Wajir, Mandera, etc. is we have concentrated in this region and such areas. And as I said earlier, Mr. Speaker, we shall provide details of what has been done so far and what we intend to do before the end of this financial year. Mr. Speaker, I think it was the last question on coverage in West Pokot and Uganda and why Uganda seems to be stronger. It may happen, Mr. Speaker, that Uganda may be stronger, but we have places where you pick either Kenyan signal or pick Uganda signal, but we plan to be able to make sure that we have good connectivity in the entire republic and not limited only to border towns. Mr. Speaker, I submit. And as I have said, some of the supplementary questions may not have been properly addressed, and we shall seek your indulgence, Mr. Speaker, to get us a copy of the answer through the clerk so that we may answer these questions substantively to the satisfaction of the House. Mr. Speaker, I submit.
Senator Karungo.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to ask my question. And I'm happy to see the CS, Kabogo, who hails from my county, that is Kiambu County. And it's good to tell the House that we used to work together between the year 2013 and 2017, when he was my governor, and at that particular time, I was the MCA. So congratulations once again, CS Kabogo. Now, Mr. Speaker, my question, because from everyone who is asking, we can tell the whole country is suffering when it comes to network coverage. But allow me, as a member of the Senate caucus on futures, that is foresight, ask, after we get the whole network, then what next? And this brings this question, Mr. Speaker. Is a ministry working with the Ministry of Education and KICD, that is Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, to integrate AI and emerging technologies into the curriculum of basic and tertiary education, Mr. Speaker, because we are in the times of AI, artificial intelligence, and very soon we are going to lose jobs. They say, as per the national AI strategy that the CS launched a few weeks ago, we are going to lose 40% of our jobs. So my question is, so that we protect and we see that we will enjoy the opportunities that will come with the AI, is a ministry working with the Ministry of Education? Thank you.
Senator Onyonka. Senator Onyonka.
My apologies, Mr. Speaker. I also would like to be in that category of Honorable Kabogo's friends who wants to say congratulations, yes, and indeed the way you are speaking, I'm encouraged because it sounds like you've got the bits and pieces. The question I wanted to ask you, we have a new and latest development called ChatGPT, which comes under the 5 which is a new technology that is being introduced. I wanted to find out from you whether either your ministry or the Communication Authority of Kenya is in the process of creating platforms where young men, women, and even our colleges and universities can be introduced to this new technology so that we can catch up with our tomorrow. Thank you, sir.
Honorable CSU may now proceed to respond.
Mr. Speaker, I thank members for congratulating me, and indeed the Honorable Kalongo Wathangwa was with me when I was governor in that county. Beg your pardon, Mr. Speaker. The question of whole country is suffering on the network coverage. And Mr. Speaker, this is true. Although we pride on having 121% mobile coverage in the country and approximately 62% of coverage on fiber, which we would want to take to 90% in the current, in the coming financial year, Mr. Speaker. On the issue of AI, Mr. Speaker, you realize that, Mr. Speaker, we did actually launch our AI strategy, which was between our ministry in collaboration with the European Union, and now are working on a policy, Mr. Speaker. And we hope that before the end of this financial year, we shall have a policy in place. We are integrating, Mr. Speaker, artificial intelligence into the curriculum, and we are working closely with the Ministry of Education to be able to bring AI into this space of ICT, Mr. Speaker. And as you know, this is a field that is really changing. And to join that with the question from the Honorable Onyonka, Mr. Speaker, ChatGPT is in very wide use right now in the world, and Kenya is not left behind, Mr. Speaker. We urge Kenyans to be able to participate in this space, but the question was whether we are going to encourage Kenyans and whether we'll come up with a way of making AI learning possible in the country, and it is true that is what we are doing, Mr. Speaker. We also intend probably to be able to bring into law on good use of this space, because it could be good, used for good and for bad, Mr. Speaker, and that is work in progress, Mr. Speaker. The Communications Authority, Mr. Speaker, is working on these areas that the Honorable Nyonka has asked, and we should be able to give a comprehensive reply to most of these questions that members have asked, Mr. Speaker. I submit, Mr. Speaker.
Now, Honorable Senators, that brings to the end our interaction section with our interaction session with the Honorable CS. Honorable CS, you are released and you may leave at your own pleasure. Now, it is 10:41. We will proceed with the other limb of this morning's order paper. Clerk, you may proceed to call the next order, please.
Order number 8, motion. Report of the 14th Ordinary Session of the Plenary Assembly and related meetings of the Forum of Parliaments of the International Conference of the Great Lakes Region held in Livingstone, Zambia from 15th to 19th April 2024.
Honorable Wamatinga.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Pursuant to this, I rise to, thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I rise to give a notice of a motion on the 14th Ordinary Session of the Plenary Assembly of related meetings to the Forum of Parliaments of the International Conference of the Great Lakes Region held in...
Honorable Matinga, you are not giving notice. You are supposed to move that motion.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm well guided. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I rise to move a motion on the report of the 14th Ordinary Session of the Plenary Assembly and the related meetings of the Forum of Parliaments of the International Conference of the Great Lakes Region held in Livingstone, Zambia from 15th to 19th April 2024. That the Senate notes that the report of the 14th Ordinary Session of the Plenary Assembly and related meetings of the Forum of the Parliament of International Conference of the Great Lakes Region held in Livingstone, Zambia from 14th to 19th April 2024 laid on the table of the Senate on Thursday, 30th May 2024. Mr. Speaker, sir, Kenya and indeed the Senate has been in the forefront in the meetings that have been held in various countries, this being one of them. The Great Lakes region comprises of several members who have come together in order to deliberate on matters affecting the integrity, the peace, and the coexistence of member countries. Kenya being one of them, the Senate has played a vital role in ensuring that these meetings continue to engage the member country so that they address issues of conflict resolution, issues of the coexistence of the member states, but most importantly, to ensure that we deliberate on the way forward, more specifically for these 13 member states. Mr. Speaker, sir, these meetings provide an opportunity
be created Mr. Speaker. In fact, we don't play any process. When we sit as Conference of Parliaments within this Great Lakes region, we cannot avoid to discuss the issues that are happening within our region. And the best we can do, Mr. Speaker, is to practice what we call parliamentary diplomacy. My prayer, Mr. Speaker, is that the Great Lakes region, members of parliament, will promote more interaction within this region, more understanding within this region, so that then some of the members of the executive who are holding positions of power can realize that actually in Kenya, you can be a president today, after your 2 terms, you are out and about and nobody disturbs you, that you will not be harmed by anyone. So if members of parliament, members of the executive can increase visitations and normalize these political things, then a lot of the worries, a lot of the instabilities that are being caused may come to an end. Mr. Speaker, I wanted to take this opportunity as we debate this report on the Great Lakes region to appeal from this House of the Senate that it is our wish to see that the South Sudan political crisis right now is resolved in an amicable way. As a Senator of Kenya, it is very uncomfortable when we hear our Vice President has been held under restriction. It is our prayer that the political processes within the regional body, not only of the East African region, but even of the Great Lakes region, can participate in bringing out stability in the region. Same, I would say, for DRC. Mr. Speaker, I watched a very sad prayer session on video of children from the Congo Republic, not Congo Republic, but the Democratic Republic of Congo. Mr. Speaker, very young boys, very, very young children were speaking that Kikongo, the Bakongo Swahili, Bana Bakongo, and they are kind of Swahili, which in ordinary case, Kenyans like to find a lot of, jokes in it because of the kind of intonations, the way their language, they speak their Kiswahili. But this one was a very sad one because the young people were calling upon God. They were calling upon the Holy Spirit. And they were calling upon their leaders to please God intervene in the hearts of these leaders, that we may not die. And they were just young children. And they were praying, and they were recorded there. And I was really moved. I thought sometimes people involved directly in the conflict, like the soldiers, like the political players, like those who support these people, they forget that there are other victims to these conflicts, including the children. That was a very, very apt presentation of what children go through. Mr. Speaker, I also wanted to use the floor of this Senate to appeal to all the players in this DRC conflict to find a way to see it through the eyes of those children, that they need peace like yesterday. Mr. Speaker, it will be a very sad occasion if the Great Lakes region, the East African community, fail to find an amicable solution to the problems that are affecting the Republic of Congo. Finally, Mr. Speaker, as I see it, we must continue to make all effort to assist climate resilience plans, to support what is being done in terms of climate mitigation, because these things, Mr. Speaker, are real. Looking at my county in Tana River, Mr. Speaker, for example, now, as I sit, I'm looking at the news that were running the other day, and we saw that with a lot of flooding, because there's been high precipitation, high rainfall in that area. Our people down the Tana are very worried right now that if the areas of the mountains have too much rain, what is happening is that people down there, they start packing their things. They start moving from the lower grounds. And nobody compensates these people, Mr. Speaker. Nobody plans for our populations, how they will move, where they will eat, because as we are talking now, Mr. Speaker, the river is flooding. And the national government, the county government, they don't seem to have answers for our people. So when we talk about even planning for climate mitigation, where is the national government? Where is the county government? Mr. Speaker, we can see that Kirinyaga was flooding because of the rainfall. This water is all coming down all the way to the Tana River County. What are the plans? You don't see the governor talking about this. You don't see the minister in charge of agriculture in our county speaking about this. You don't see any plans. You are just waiting, and then people, as it always happens, you are sleeping in the night, and then all of a sudden, you start seeing things floating within your room, and then you realize the river has broken its banks. Mr. Speaker, I pray that even our local administration will do what has been agreed in this international forum. This international forum has said we must always prepare adequately because of climate change. I pray that our local administration, our county government will wake up to its responsibilities. Let's not wait for the river to destroy lives, property, and stuff belonging to people for you to move them out. Let us start dealing with the problems early enough. This is part of what the Senate was learning during this trip that was led to Zambia at the International Forum of the Great Lakes region by our team that went there. Mr. Speaker, with those many remarks, I want to say thank you, and I support this report. Thank you very much.
Senator Olekina.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, allow me to make some brief comments and support this report. I support this report because I understand the importance of the Great Lake region in Africa. I understand the importance of the fresh lakes which exist in these regions, which help build our biodiversity. And all my colleagues who have spoken on this issue have emphasized on the need for us to take seriously matters on climate change, and particularly climate change adaptation. It is imperative, Mr. Speaker, and I'm very happy that one of the recommendations made by this report is to be able to legislate for the future. We just came back, Mr. Speaker, from the Masai Mara Game Reserve, where we had hosted a caucus on future generations. It is imperative that all of us remember that we own nothing in this world, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the beautiful Lamborghini that the majority leader drives, he doesn't own it. He only uses it on this world when he's moving from one place to another. You know, the $1 million house that Senator Mofire owns, he doesn't really own. He's really just a tenant. He will leave it on this earth for the next generation to be able to occupy it. This is very common in the States where I lived, where banks are the ones that own properties. You might think you own your home, and before you realize that you are dead, someone else has taken your home. This is something that I think it should go to the core of this nation, that we own nothing. Even the suit I'm wearing, I don't own it. It's just something to accompany me as I move from one place to another. We own nothing. So with these parliamentarians coming together to be able to discuss the importance of preserving the environment in this Great Lake region, the importance of discussing about the economy of these Great Lake regions, the importance of ensuring that we have a stable society. All these problems that we've had, Mr. Speaker, if you look at what happened during the genocide in Rwanda, where over 800,000 people died. And then all the instability that ensued in the Congo region. All these affects these Great Lake regions. And it's about time that we discuss issues and we follow through. I'm one of the biggest critics of seminars because they normally end up being just talk shops where people talk about what they're going to do. But when it comes to issues that affects future generation, it is something that I give my utmost attention. It is imperative, Mr. Speaker, that this recommendation, that this report has been able to come up with, are followed to the latter. If you look at the one that I just talked about, enact legislation that will introduce measures to safeguard natural resources for future generation and create a more sustainable and resilient future for all. That in itself, Mr. Speaker, requires us to carry both pre and post scrutiny of all our legislations to be able to see, are we legislating for now, or are we legislating also to be able to ensure that future generations are also protected? One of the legislation that I hope that we can be able to relook at is the legislation that deals with the environment. Mr. Speaker, a long time ago, Nairobi was known as the Green City, but now it is the concrete jungle because we are building and building and building, and we are not really caring about the environment. I think it's about time, Mr. Speaker, that now in all our 47 counties, all our urban centers, we start by making sure that we fix the environment. We fix the environment, we plant trees. When I was growing up in Narok, we had a forest in Narok town called Olekonyo Forest. Today is literally just a piece of land which is eroded for people moving and also with the floods from time to time. I think now Narok County has got to move forward and bring reforestation in that area so that we even have a cleaner environment which we can be able to breathe. It is important. We talk about planting trees, but we plant trees so that we can be able to ensure that we adapt to the climate change, or do we plant trees so that people start knocking doors and saying, we want carbon credit on the forest? Today, one of the very sexy and interesting business that has come up with has to do with carbon credit. You'll go to places in rural areas, people are talking about carbon credit. And they don't even know what carbon credit is. But the carbon credit is really a measure that is being put by the West and mostly companies abroad to be able to try and say we are compensating by making sure that other countries fix their environment, and then we can slowly erase our carbon footprint, which is not true. You know, we just have to be current and alive to the fact that this generation will determine how the future generation will be able to survive. Mr. Speaker, it is important to, when I look at the recommendation, the second recommendation says, renew their commitment to the African initiative to solve security challenges in the Great Lake region and support efforts aimed at promoting peace and stability in member states beset with conflict and instability. We have to demystify conflict and instability. What brings or what brews conflict and instabilities in our countries? It is very simple. It is the interests of the West. It is the interests of the East. Should we start looking within ourselves to realign our own existing resources to be able to better, our lives for the future generation? Mr. Speaker, every so often, I am reminded of the new ruler now, or the new leader of Burkina Faso. And today I came across a clip where he has made education free from primary all the way to university. I reminisce in the time when the former president, Kibaki, introduced pre-primary education. A lot of critics are like, no, how are you going to be able to fund it? How are you going to be able to afford it? It comes back to the issues discussed in this report. Issues to do with our natural resources. Issues to do with the gold that we have in this country, which is traded, and then some guys who are unscrupulous businessmen take all the credit. And even the community not end up getting the royalties. We talk about the resources that we have. One of the most controversial natural resources that we have Murima Hills in Kwale. It is something that people don't talk about because the West have a big interest in it. To do what? To better the life of their people. Suppose we now look back and say, it is about time that we stand on our own 2 feet so that we can take care of our security. All these instabilities in the Congo region, why? There's a lot of resources, a lot of natural resources. So you'll see the West, the East, everyone is going there. You know, recently, Mr. Speaker, I read that the new president of Namibia has decided to hit back at Donald Trump sanctions and say that she actually gave all those investors, all those who are mining in that country, 48 hours to leave the country. And when you go back to Namibia and see the amount of resources which are coming from that country, you'll be shocked. So now, if all of us can start learning from other leaders from other regions, Burkina Faso, let's go to Namibia, and then we bring it back home here, we will be able to ensure that there's security in the Great Lake regions. We'll be able to ensure that our water bodies are fully protected. We'll be able to ensure that even the laws that we develop in this house are climate adaptable to. They are supposed to, you cannot have seeds that you're planting, and this gives me an opportunity now to introduce that I will be introducing an amendment to CAP 326, which has to do with seeds and crops, so that we can be able to start having our own original seeds. We have our own, products in this country that can be able to help adapt to this climate change. So, Mr. Speaker, because of time, and I know a few of my colleagues want to contribute, and maybe my sister would like to move another report, I just want to say that it is imperative that when these reports come, we just don't discuss them, and then we table them, and then they go and collect dust. How do we follow through? And the way to follow through is to self-implement, to ensure that all of us here, when we're here, whatever is written in this report, we take it, we localize it, take it to our counties, make sure that if it is those water bodies, we protect them. If it is they're addressing the issue of forestry, afforestation, we lead by example. I know I was challenged by my colleague from Nandi when he said that a few years ago, I planted trees in the Mao Forest. I want to welcome you to go to the Mao Forest today. You will see that 26 million seeds that we planted are all trees. So of course I've contributed to that. And these are some of the things that we do. A few other people do not comprehend, because someone is like, how are you able to spend that money to do it? I will end by repeating what I said. That the $100,000 car that my good friend from Nandi drives, he does not own it. It is just something that helps him navigate lives, and then he will leave it to the next person. It'll probably be sold. So, Mr. Speaker, I rest, it's about 14 million. And even the car, even the motorbike that you drive for 3 million, you don't own it. That motorbike, you will leave it on this earth. So it is important that we legislate for the future. We make sure that every piece of legislation, ML, that you come up with, or that we all bring it here, it is a legislation that will legislate for the future, not for the current generation.
Senator Olekina, would you like to be informed by Senator Cherargei?
Yeah, why not?
Cherargei.
Mr. Speaker, so that these are live proceedings, Mr. Speaker, I don't drive an automobile of 14 million Kenya shillings. I only drive, as you heard Senator Kalwale saying, members of the Senate, I only drive a car worth 3.5 million Kenya shillings. So 14 million, I have not reached that level, Mr. Speaker, so I thought I should inform you.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for that kind of information. But the truth of the matter is that it doesn't matter whether it is the car that Senator Tabitha drives that is $220,000, or the car that you drive which is $30,000. You don't own it. It is just a piece of equipment that is supposed to help you. When you die today, you will leave it and it will either be sold or someone else occupy it temporarily. Mr. Speaker, I want to end by saying that I support this report. It is quite detailed, and I want to invite my colleagues to actually go through it. Go through the report, see the recommendation, look at the observations which have been made. It behooves you and I to be able to leave this world a better place than we found it, legislate for the future, and now all of us ought to go into all these pieces of legislation which are here to see whether we can be able to amend them to be able to be fit for future generation, or actually repeal them if they no longer serve any purpose. Otherwise, Mr. Speaker, I thank you.
Honorable Senators, there being no other senators wishing to contribute, I call upon the mover to reply. Senator Majority Leader Cheriot.
Mr. Speaker, I was not the mover, but as leader of majority, you are prepared in season and out of season, as the Bible tells us. So I will reply on behalf of Senator Matinga, who actually moved this report, which is a report of the 14th ordinary session of the Plenary Assembly and related meetings of the FP, that is a Forum of Parliaments for the International Conference of the Great Lakes Regions. Mr. Speaker, this is a very important report, and why we need to have such reports, Mr. Speaker, adopted and debated. And I like what Senator Ledama has said, that it is important for colleagues to internalize these reports, is so that they can understand Africa. Africa is a very complex equation, Mr. Speaker, and unfortunately, due to limitations of ease of travel, Mr. Speaker, and conflict in the region, there are many Africans, including this Senator Ledama, Mr. Speaker, who know every corner of certain metropolis or metropolises around the globe better than they know Africa. I am no exception to that, Senator Ledama, so you don't need to protest, Mr. Speaker. If today...
Senator Cheriot, would you like to be informed by Senator
I don't mind being informed, and I'll challenge him further, so you better be careful as he informs me.
Mr. Speaker, let me inform the majority leader that I'm among the few people who have actually driven across Africa. I drove from South Africa all the way to Nairobi, through Botswana, through Zambia, and then Tanzania, and all the way to Kenya. And number two also, I've also really driven across South Africa. I like traveling, and I have walked across the United States of America. So one day, I will walk across Africa.
Mr. Speaker, Senator Ledama has actually helped to affirm my point, that he knows the Americas more than he does his own Africa. Mr. Speaker, you can see he only mentioned four countries out of 54, Mr. Speaker. And forget about the countries. This man, because I know him because he's my friend, if you are with him in America, he will describe for you street by street of some of the bigger cities there. Outside this Nairobi, I doubt, Mr. Speaker, if there is any other African country that he knows the name of a street, including neighborhood here in Dar es Salaam, Mr. Speaker. Maybe Kigali for other reasons, but Mr. Speaker. Anyway, on a more serious note, there is something else, Senator Ledama, you need to check. I followed, you said something that got my attention about Captain Ibrahim Traore. I used to also fall for his hype, like many people fall on TikTok. I saw another journalist another time saying, oh, did you see the way he was cheered when he arrived for the inauguration of the Ghanaian new president, Mr. Speaker? And I was excited like most people, until I did some further research about what is exactly going on in Burkina Faso. And I want to challenge Senator Ledama to do the same, perhaps counter-check Senator Ledama, the things that you read online and the reality on ground, as Kenyans say. And I was shocked actually to learn that despite all this hype and the things that we read about, the things that they are doing, first of all, I am not a fan of coups. I am a firm believer in democracy. I strongly believe that if there were lesser coups in Africa and more transitions by the ballot, Africa will advance better than it is doing through coups and by the power of the bullet. For that reason, I am not a big fan of that particular gentleman. But more importantly, the reason why the military, led by him, took over Burkina Faso is that they insisted that there were challenges with security in their country. And there were terrorists ravaging around, killing people, and all these kind of challenges. You need to check Senator Ledama, because from the research that I did, is that actually since they took over power, and you know wars are very costly. You can see what is happening to the gentleman in Ukraine. See how he's being embarrassed and the things that he's being taught. Because wars are extremely expensive. If you don't have a way through which you will fund your war, then you better not start it. So the unfortunate situation in that country, and we need to check, unfortunately they are not part of the Great Lakes, but this is just to make the point that we need to understand our continent better, is that since coming into power by the bullet of Captain Ibrahim Traore, they have lost 40% more territory to the terrorists that were ravaging people. So it's easy to read all these things online, TikTok, and people say, oh, certain things are happening. But do your research further. And that's the tragedy with Africa. That is part of what this report is telling us, that as parliamentarians, Mr. Speaker, in African nations, we know very little about our continent. Of course, the issue that you further raised, Senator Ledama, which is extremely important, is the challenges of travel within this continent. You remember, in 2023, President William Ruto flagged off outside here, just next to Parliament at KICC, the first consignment of goods that were supposed to be sold from Kenya into the rest of the African countries under the ACFTA arrangement, Mr. Speaker. It took 3 months for those goods to get from Nairobi to Accra, Ghana, because of the challenges of logistics, border points, areas where there are conflict, poor road network and infrastructure, Mr. Speaker. Very serious challenges that this continent is facing, Mr. Speaker, which, unless we as the leaders, we that serve in Parliament, almost all our governments and institutions on the continent, Mr. Speaker, have their budgets drawn in their parliaments. And we must consciously begin to make decisions that further make our countries more competitive. We must think beyond, Mr. Speaker, just passing division of revenue and saying we have done our duty as a Senate of the Republic of Kenya. We must know, how do we open up markets for our farmers, Mr. Speaker? That's why we must appreciate President Trump for these tariffs, because they are a wake-up call to us. We don't need to fight, Mr. Speaker, to access that market if we were to trade and make it possible for Africans to trade amongst themselves, Mr. Speaker. Half of the goods that we export, Mr. Speaker, actually come back to the rest of the continent at a higher cost. Lipton tea, which leaves Kericho, Mr. Speaker, at $2, arrives back in Accra, having been processed at their facility in France and Netherlands, Mr. Speaker, at $4 or $6, Mr. Speaker. Just across the same continent, trading amongst ourselves, but through intermediaries that are based in other continents that are better organized. And therefore, until we begin following through the recommendations of such reports, Mr. Speaker, we continue to make a mockery of the citizens that we lead, of the time that we spent in these conferences talking about the challenges and the things that we need to do to address and make our continent better, Mr. Speaker, because the solutions lie within ourselves. If Africa was to trade amongst itself, Mr. Speaker, we would earn more respect. We wouldn't even need to borrow the kinds of money that we are borrowing, Mr. Speaker, to run our economies, Mr. Speaker, because that is money that we are losing out. This is a continent of the future. And I want to appreciate the legislators that met last weekend, Mr. Speaker. I didn't get a chance because of prior arrangement, and Senator Ledama also. I don't know why. By the time he was informing me, it was hardly hours into the event. But the next one I will not miss, Mr. Speaker. And I plead that I be invited prior, because they are discussing about the future and what is our place, including on matters very important such as the climate change, which is being addressed in this particular document. It is until we begin to converse amongst ourselves, at least even at the level of leadership, to ask ourselves very basic questions, Mr. Speaker. Why are we not able to ratify? Even the simplest of proposals that have been put up, even just here at the East African community, Mr. Speaker. Why does it have to cost me close to 100 shillings to call a fellow East African in Tanzania, Mr. Speaker? Yet the companies actually, the telco companies that own these networks actually, they are shareholders in each other. It's Vodacom on the other side. They own 40% of Safaricom here on this side, Mr. Speaker. Why are we making it difficult for people even just to communicate? The very least, thing that you can do, just to check on a friend, Mr. Speaker. It's really unfortunate that after these conferences, and this parliament perhaps is a well-oiled of resources and very good, well-thought-out reports such as this one, Mr. Speaker, that have been accumulated from 1963 with very good ideas. In fact, Mr. Speaker, we don't need to travel anymore. We don't need to, we just need to go to the parliamentary library, which unfortunately 90% of legislators in this house don't even know where it is, Mr. Speaker, to check on the reports that have been brought to this house from such conferences, from years gone by, and parliaments before, from the 1st to the 13th parliament that we are sitting in today, Mr. Speaker, of such initiatives and the things that enact this, legislate on these issues of good governance, democracy, climate change. All these things have been talked about, Mr. Speaker. But the challenge is, do we follow through with implementation? Or are we satisfied, for example, today that after we passed this report, you can see from part of the recommendations, even this particular report, and I'm happy many of the colleagues that spoke on this particular topic, Mr. Speaker, refer to it, that we're actually being challenged to legislate on this, push for policy change with this regards. At least this one is on a very alive topic, because climate change is a conversation that Kenya actually has taken leadership in on the global stage and even continentally here. We gather here each year during the Africa Climate Summit, and I don't know even when this year's will be. If there's no other country ready to host, Mr. Speaker, I hope that the President will actually still host it like we did in 2023 and 2024, Mr. Speaker, because until we learn to manage our environment and address the issues that continue to arise out of climate change, Mr. Speaker, we are actually, I like the phrase that the script writer or the speech writer of the Secretary General of the UN normally uses. It's a mad dash towards the end of the world that everybody is involved in. That in all these things, we might be thinking we are developing the world, but we're actually rushing ourselves and making the end of the world closer with our violation of the climate and the things that we are doing. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, I want to urge every member of this delegation, Senator Ali Roba, Senator Hezena, together with our colleagues from the National Assembly, Rendikiri and Kakai Bissau, members that are both known to me personally, that they should go beyond the call of duty of travel, Mr. Speaker, and ensure that the very beautiful recommendations they've given to us are actually implemented, and that they pass all these legislative proposals that they have assured in the section of the recommendation, Mr. Speaker, that you need to pass by use of our legislative and oversight function to ensure that we ratify and we domesticate some of the instruments that have been proposed over the years, Mr. Speaker, that we apply their mandate in that particular to step up national efforts on climate change, adaptation, and honor domestic and international commitment under the guidelines of the Paris Agreement. Apart from the Paris, and I don't know who will represent us this year because this is a yearly gathering, they need to bring to the attention of the conference that there are more far-reaching resolutions that actually have been passed at the African Climate Summit than this one of the Paris Agreement. And they were passed here in Nairobi. Therefore, we as the Kenyan delegation need to take the lead and speak on these issues, Mr. Speaker, so that we just don't quote what has been discussed. You cannot discuss with a violator and expect justice, Mr. Speaker. To expect that the Western world, which is a lead violator of our climate issues, Mr. Speaker, and them that have gotten us to this place by refusing, actually, to respect Africa, our contribution into carbon emission and all these challenges is very minimal, Mr. Speaker. Yet we bear the greatest burden out of the pollution and all these things that arise, Mr. Speaker. So that's why I believe in the recommendations of the Africa Climate Summit, perhaps more deeply than this one that are discussed in the presence and in the homes of the violators themselves, Mr. Speaker. There is also a recommendation on investment in climate adaptation measures that proactively address climate-related health impacts, food insecurity, including the early warning systems for climate-related disease outbreaks and enhancing emergency response. This is about resources, Mr. Speaker, and ensuring that as a country, Mr. Speaker, we set aside resources to address this particular. Senator Moses Kajwang, I haven't heard from him lately, but I know that he was leading a caucus of, I think, legislators. I'm not sure whether it's from both houses or this house alone, where they were thinking about this particular topic, Mr. Speaker, and how we can make our contribution as Parliament here in Kenya alongside others. I hope he can complete on the work and lead the country into achieving that particular issue. They have put in an applause for the first Africa Climate Summit that was spearheaded by our president here in Nairobi, Mr. Speaker, and the strong contribution of the African delegation, actually, in that particular session. Mr. Speaker, I hope we can follow through. I know it's part of the last things that was discussed in Addis in the month of February during the annual AU summit, Mr. Speaker, and they agreed, actually, that if no other African country was willing and ready to host it, that Kenya had its borders open, as we've always had on many other issues, of course. It speaks also, Mr. Speaker, you know you cannot discuss climate in the absence of peace. And therefore, the call, actually, for downing of arms in many of the member states, Mr. Speaker, that are affected by conflict, members of the Great Lakes, and I know there are initiatives, Mr. Speaker, including in the Congo and so many other parts of the continent, Mr. Speaker, that continue to face these challenges. I hope, Mr. Speaker, that members of these Great Lakes can help bring a speedy conclusion of the challenges that the Republic of South Sudan is facing today. Sudan as well, you understand the conflict and the challenges that exist there There have been great conversations, Mr. Speaker, about the presence of RSF in the country and the invitation of the other people. Of course, Mr. Speaker, this is a conversation that we must have as a country. We have been a great contributor into the stability of this region. Almost every country that has gone into conflict began their peace efforts here in Nairobi. We've always hosted them. And I don't know why people want to trivialize the existence of part of the factions that are warring in certain parts of the country. Mr. Speaker, before parties can agree, you need both parties around. And to have both parties, they report. These are people that are fighting. You don't expect them to agree and say, let us go to Nairobi on the same day. So if one of the parties show up, Mr. Speaker, what we should be calling up for, Mr. Speaker, is for the aggressors, Mr. Speaker, or the people that are in conflict, Mr. Speaker, with them, to equally show up here or any other part of the country, of the continent, Mr. Speaker, so that we can conclude on this particular conflict. Senator Mungatana spoke about the cry and the pleas of the people of Congo, Mr. Speaker, which is something that has been with us for a long, long time. And it's a sad story because naturally, Congo ought to be the largest economy on the continent of Africa because of the resources that they have, the land size, fertile land, and all these things. But because of conflict of all these years, Mr. Speaker, you understand how their economy is. And it's been very difficult to bring together the parties, Mr. Speaker, and get them to agree. I hope this process that is ongoing, that is spearheaded by the Great Lakes Initiative, Mr. Speaker, can yield actually fruit so that these people can get to live peaceably enjoy life, Mr. Speaker, and enjoy their country. Because, unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, any part of the continent that is affected by conflict affects the rest of the continent. Because it is until there is sufficient peace on the continent that we'll be able actually to carry out the trade that we were talking about earlier, that we'll be able to move around the continent with freedom. And people will not have to travel, Mr. Speaker, to all these other destinations across the globe to enjoy and find beauty. Africa has sufficient beauty, and it's blessed with all the resources and sites that one may want to behold. You can never conclude on it, Mr. Speaker. But of course, because of these challenges and issues such as conflict that you're talking about, many people prefer to travel elsewhere, Mr. Speaker. I do hope that as our friends continue to meet, that the Great Lakes can make significant contribution, Mr. Speaker, in bringing lasting peace in all these countries that are ravaged by conflict across the continent, and perhaps even beginning with here among the membership of the Great Lakes. I thank you, Mr. Speaker. With those many remarks, I beg to reply. Mr. Speaker, further, in accordance with Standing Order number 66.3, I want to request that the putting of a question be deferred until a later date. I thank you.
Thank you, Senator. The putting of the question shall be deferred. Next order.
Order number 9, motion. Report of the proceedings of the Parliamentarians' Dialogue at the Africa Climate Summit 2023, held in the National Assembly Chamber, Parliament Buildings, Nairobi, on 3rd to 6th September 2023.
Senator Kajwang is not around, so we shall defer that order. Next order.
Order number 10, motion. Report of the Senate delegation to the High-Level Political Forum 2024 on Sustainable Development.
Senator Hamida.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the Senate notes that the report of the Senate delegation of the High-Level Political Forum, HLPF, 2024 on Sustainable Development, held in New York, United States of America, USA, from 8th to 17th July 2024, laid on the table of the Senate on Thursday, 20th February 2024. Mr. Speaker, this high-level political forum of sustainable development, HLPF, took place on Monday, 8th July. That was on Wednesday, and it ended on 17th July 2024 under the auspice of the Economic and Social Council. That's ECOSOC. This forum, Mr. Speaker, included a 3-day ministerial engagement from Monday, 15th July to Wednesday, 17th July, as per ECOSOC high-level forum. The theme of this HLPF, Mr. Speaker, was regarding the reinforcing the 2030 agenda and eradicating poverty in times of multiple crises, the effective delivery of sustainable resilience and innovative solutions. Mr. Speaker, if you'll allow me to just kindly refer to my few notes, because this happened last year, July. It's quite some time. But then, Mr. Speaker, remember it was a high-level political forum in the main United Nations platform on sustainable development, regarding the sustainable development. It has a central role in the follow-up and review the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs, at the global level. That forum provided for the full effective of participation of all member states of the United States, specialized agencies of the United States, as well as civil society through the major groups and stakeholders coordination mechanism. Mr. Speaker, the 2024 HLPF was the first forum under the auspice of ECOSOC, and after the 2023 SDGs Summit, which was convened at the General Assembly in September 2023. The 2024 HLPF was supported and implemented with a political declaration and other outcomes of the SDG Summit for advancing the 2030 agenda and the SDGs. This forum attracted over 90 government high-level officials and 125 speakers. In the line with the integrated nature of SDGs goals, it also conducted in depth the reviews of the following goals. Number 1, poverty. Number 2, zero hunger goal, climate action, and peace, justice, and strong institutions. And the other one was partnerships of the goals. Mr. Speaker, the 36 countries presented their voluntary national reviews. It's called the VNR, which was shared in progress of 2030 agenda. In addition, Mr. Speaker, it featured about 236 side events and 13 VNR labs, 13 special events and 14 exhibitions held on margins of the forum, offering the opportunities of the deeper engagement and collaboration. Mr. Speaker, in line with the theme, also, the SDGs looked at the way forward of effective delivery of sustainable and resilient and innovative solutions. The forum was tasked to review the 5 SDGs. Number 1 was eradicating poverty in all its forms everywhere, SDG 1. Number 2 was to end hunger, achieve food security, and improve nutrition, and promote sustainable agricultural, SDG 2. The number 3 was to take urgent action to combat climate change and its impacts. That's SDG 13. Number 4 was to promote peaceful and inclusive societies and sustainable development to provide access to justice for all and build effective, accountable, and inclusive institutions at all levels. That's SDG 16. And the last one was the strengthening of implementation and revitalize the Global Partnership for Sustainable Development. That's SDG 17. Mr. Speaker, the UN Under-Secretary General for Economic and Social Affairs, Lee Juna, informed that the final stretch towards SDG 2030, only 17% of SDGs targets are on track. And also, to be achieved on this one, he reiterated the call of bold action and peace and finance, for peace and finance, highlighting the upcoming Summit of the Future, the 4th International Conference on Financing for Development, and the 2nd World Summit for Social Development as crucial milestones in advancing the SDGs. Mr. Speaker, the Parliamentary Union, the IPU, was also held at the same time. This was on the sidelines of the High-Level Political Forum and Sustainable Development, HLPF. This was held on the 16th July, and the forum under the Governance, Deficits and Climate Disasters. The case for parliamentary action actually engaged parliamentarians in assessing 2 SDGs under the review of HLPF, SDG 16, on peace, justice, and strong institutions, and SDG 13 on climate change. The Parliamentary Forum, Mr. Speaker, reiterated that while the SDGs were important and independent SDG 16 was key because it enabled all other SDGs to succeed, members of parliaments were urged to robust and work towards the more inclusive, transparent, accountable institutions and political environment focused on achieving greater good for all through consensus and cooperation. Mr. Speaker, our parliament was represented at the high-level political forum on sustainable development, HLPF 2024, by yours truly, and I was accompanied by Mr. Innocent Mbaya, Senior Clerk Assistant and Secretary to the delegation. The Kenya delegation was actively involved in the deliberations and greatly enriched the resolutions. Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the delegation, I wish to take this opportunity to thank Mr. Speaker and the Clerk of the Senate for your, Mr. Speaker, Amason Kingi, and the Clerk of the Senate for having given me this opportunity to ensure that Kenya was well represented during the high-level conference, political forum on sustainable development goals, and the IPU parliamentary meeting held on the sidelines on this forum. Mr. Speaker, it is my pleasure and humble duty to move this motion on this report, highlighting the deliberations and outcomes of the high-level political forum on sustainable development goals, HLPF 2024, and the Parliamentary Forum on the High-Level Political Forum on Sustainable Development Achievement. Mr. Speaker, I beg to move. And may I request Senator Cherargei to support, to second.
Senator Cherargei.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I want from the onset to commend the delegation led by my sister, Senator Amida Kibwana. You know, Senator Amida Kibwana, she is a guru in most of these issues of United Nations, NGOs, and discussions that happen. And I want to say, Mr. Speaker, looking at the report as I second on the Senate delegation high-level political forum on sustainable development is very important. Mr. Speaker, in early 2000, we focus or refocus our energies on Millennium Development Goals. Now, Mr. Speaker, and Vision 2030, which was internalized, and now we are moving to Sustainable Development Goals, which are 17, Mr. Speaker. And this voluntary review by nations, Mr. Speaker, is very critical. And Mr. Speaker, I want to start the Economic and, of course, Economic and Social Council, United Nations Declaration on Human Rights, and the formation of Economic and Social Council is very important in terms of development in this, across the globe. The Speaker, in this resolution, most of these things needs political direction and guidance and leadership. And for sustainable development, we were just discussing the issue of Great Lakes. And we realize peace and security and stability is very critical for sustainable development. You cannot have development without peace, security, and stability in our region, especially in Horn of Africa and across the world, Mr. Speaker. Then, of course, the issue of dialogue is very important, especially in conflict resolutions, and focus on dynamic action-oriented agenda and considering new and emerging sustainable development challenges. I think, Mr. Speaker, this issue of voluntary national reviews from member states on the implementation of Vision 2030 and sustainable development goals is very critical moving into the future. There must be improved cooperation and coordination between United Nations and across the world between several. Even we are discussing, it comes at a time when now United States of America are imposing tariffs to China and other countries, including Africa, where we are told Kenya is among the lowest tariffs that were being imposed. Mr. Speaker, the danger and the threat to sustainable development goals is protectionism by nations across the world. The fact that United States nowadays has imposed tariffs is because they want to protectionism. Even counties where Article 96 has given us power, we are also practicing protectionism, Mr. Speaker. When I want to drive to Garissa, Mr. Speaker, I find cess points. So if you are buying in Thika, for example, machine cut stones and you want to build a house in Garissa town, you will have to pay cess points from here in Thika, Kiambu County, all the way to Garissa, for example. From here to Nandi, Mr. Speaker. So there is an aspect of double taxation that undermines and threatens the business environment. And that protectionism that we see at the local level of counties is what countries are practicing. And that is why Americans now issuing tariffs. I remember they are trying the New York Stock Exchange, and many others has been faced by the threat of these issues of trust. So does it affect, Mr. Speaker? You saw the United States, and I want to agree with President Donald Trump, Mr. Speaker. And I think President Donald Trump is God-sent. He is the only leader who says he recognizes only two genders. You are either male or female. This issue of transgender and other things is even forbidden by Islamic tradition and by Islamic religion and Christians alike, and even Jews and Hindus. We only have two genders. And in fact, we had reached a point that most African countries and our societies would depend on donors were being asked to be LGBTQ compliant, Mr. Speaker. And that was a threat to the values, our religion, and our social order, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, the fact that President Donald Trump, Mr. Speaker, even I agree with him, that he was able to suspend USAID and dismantle it, Mr. Speaker, because it was an avenue of corruption. Mr. Speaker, are you aware in Karen, Runda, and these high market estates across the country, the rent has gone down? Because most of these people used only to live in Nairobi, come to Wilson Airport, fly to Kaguma, in the evening they are flying back. In fact, most of high-end restaurants are shutting down because they were the only one who could buy champagne and other expensive wines, Mr. Speaker, because of dollars. So the real intention of money was being used for administrative purposes, as opposed as to assisting somebody in northern Kenya, somebody in North Rift, somebody in Nyanza, in the fight, because the USAID was only focused, Mr. Speaker. And even you remember when we had the Gen Z protest, Mr. Speaker, there was allegation that some of these funds that come from donors, including USAID, was being used to fund instability across Africa, not only Kenya, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, we need to remain focused. I agree. While we agree with the United States that USAID should have been suspended, I know many people say they used to support health programs across the country. Those are sustainable developments. That the threats that come is nations are becoming protectionist. What should we do as Africans? We need to ensure, and you heard the majority leader said, we need to ensure there is interconnectivity. Mr. Speaker, do you know it is faster and easier to travel to London as opposed to travel, for example, to Accra, Ghana, Mr. Speaker, to travel to Nigeria? Because the connectivity between Africa and Europe and America is far much better and Middle East than even traveling within Africa. So we need, the only challenge to ensure that we need to develop in the development, Mr. Speaker, is to ensure that. Mr. Speaker, quickly moving is the point number 2 is sustainable goals, which are 17. The first goal, Mr. Speaker, is no poverty. There is no dignity in poverty. And yesterday, Senator Orwobo, we were discussing the provision of sanitary towels in our country. And we are talking about period poverty. There is no dignity in poverty, Mr. Speaker. If we say there is no poverty, we need to ensure each and every Kenyan can access 3 square meals, can take their children to school, Mr. Speaker, can access medical care, affordable and quality education. That is the only way we can end. And SDG number 1 is there should be no poverty, Mr. Speaker, because there is no dignity in poverty. Even in housing, And I want to thank the government of President William Ruto for ensuring that we have a sustainable cities and communities, a sustainable goal number 11. So in fact, what President William Ruto is doing, government, is complying with 17 goals of sustainable development goals. Because one of these is creating sustainable communities and cities and no poverty. Because even the indicators of poverty, Mr. Speaker, is even access to housing. Because basics, Mr. Speaker, are clothes, food, and shelter. So in 60 years down the line, Mr. Speaker, we are still discussing about the basics, food, shelter, and housing. And one of the factors that the government is trying to do is ensure there is a dignified place for living for most of the Kenyans. And you remember during Kibaki era, we had to use slum upgrading program here in Kibra, Mr. Speaker, even through national housing, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, we must refocus the biggest threat to development of sustainable goals, and a threat to development of sustainable goals is we must be compliant with 17 goals. Number 2, Mr. Speaker, we need to end and ensure food security. That is sustainable goal number 2 of 17. Zero hunger, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, many Kenyans, and that is why we are pushing for school feeding program. Most of our children miss school because of issues of hunger. And that is why we need to ensure that the feeding programs within the ECD centers, Mr. Speaker, we need to refocus our energies. I saw school feeding program here in Nairobi, although the Office of the Auditor General has questioned the issue of school feeding program called Dish in a County for lack of transparency and accountability. Mr. Speaker, we have seen school feeding program, Mr. Speaker, in the financial year of 2022-2023, Mr. Speaker, where over 63 million in Trans Nzoia County, 63 million worth of school feeding program was given out, but only 185,451 packets of 200 meals of milk was being supplied to the school, Mr. Speaker. So you can see counties are planning for school feeding program, but they don't follow it up. Because looking at the Trans Nzoia County in financial year 2023-2024, a program, school feeding program worth 64 million, only less than 1% was delivered by the time the audit was done. Similar to Dish in a County here in Nairobi. So the fact of zero hunger in these countries, we must have a sustainable food security, Mr. Speaker. That is sustainable goal number 2. And I want to thank the government, Mr. Speaker, because we are in planting season in where I come from, in North Rift. When President William Ruto took over government, we used to buy fertilizer at 7,000 shillings. Courtesy of this subsidy program, we are buying fertilizer at 2,500, and it is being supplied, for example, in Nandi County. You go to Lesos NCPB, you go to Mosoriat and Cereals Board, you go to Celia Cereals Board, you go to Kobucha, Mr. Speaker, Cereal Board, where my farmers are picking subsidized fertilizers so that we ensure there is food security in this country, Mr. Speaker. And the reason there is a lot of noise, Mr. Speaker, in the country is because there is enough food. That is what is happening. The reason people are having energy of shouting at government, even acting echoes of one, Mr. Speaker, is because there is enough food in the country. Even Murang'a County, I'm happy I saw the governor of Murang'a, Irungu wa Kenyatta, was issuing, Mr. Speaker, you need to protect me for indigenous behavior of Senator Orwoba. You should just be patient when seniors are speaking. Mr. Speaker.
You're protected, Senator Gloria.
Yes. Yesterday, she moved her bill for 1.5 hours. Some of us did not have a problem.
That is true.
Yeah, I'm just trying, because I'm seconding, I'm trying to give the House the information. I'll just finish in the next 2-3 minutes. 2-3 minutes. So, Speaker, I saw, because we want to see best practices, at Murang'a County, led by Senator Irungu Kenyatta, and of course my brother, Senator, you know the money Irungu Kenyatta uses is what Senator Metu is pushing. Senator Nyutu is pushing in this floor of the House. And I saw him giving out seeds and subsidized fertilizer. That is how he is complying with sustainable goal number 2 on zero hunger, of ensuring food security. And the reason there is a lot of noise against the government of President William Ruto is because people are full. There is a lot of food in the country. And that is why they are making a lot of noise against this government. People are full, Mr. Speaker. And you remember the former ambassador of United States, Michael Reinfacker, or was it Edward Clay, that the people were too full until they were vomiting on our shoes. And that is what is happening with the opponents of President William Ruto government. If there was no food in this country, there would be no noise. But because the president has implemented the issue of zero hunger and food security in this country, you can imagine, Mr. Speaker. And even let us plant, I'm happy, let us diversify, Mr. Speaker. Finally, I want to just, in 1 minute, touch on what the government, so that members can understand that we had a number of organizations that were presenting, because this is just sustainable development goals that we pick up from Mwai Kibaki. Mr. Speaker, for international reviews, the position of Kenya in that summit in New York was very clear that we need to fight hunger in this country. And I've told you, most of our children don't attend schools because of lack of food. We need to improve on school feeding program. But the school feeding, even the national school feeding program has problems. I can see they normally allocate 4 billion. But National Assembly should come out and do the audit of the program, NACONEX, that is being run by Ministry of Education. It smells, it works, it wafts corruption, Mr. Speaker. You cannot go to Garissa County and give us the primary schools that the school feeding program by Ministry of Education is being done. And that is why we are challenging the National Assembly. Instead of encroaching on the whole functions, like building markets, like wanting to take road maintenance levy fund of 11 billion, they should be oversighting things like NACONEX, things like a provision of sanitary pads. Yesterday we saw where almost $1 billion plus has been issued for the last 2 financial years. They should do their job. And even the Supreme Court has ruled that CDF is unconstitutionally illegal. I want to agree with former Prime Minister Raila Odinga that the work of Parliament, Senate and National is to oversight, represent, legislate, and budget-making program. The National Assembly does not have a business to try and run CDF or any other funds. How do you run? You cannot have your cake and eat it. How do you run a program where you want to come and oversight? So that is what we need to really insist, and I wanted the position of Kenyan government was that, Mr. Speaker, on when they appeared, and it was presented by a lady called Monica Asuna, who was the director of Planning National Treasury in Kenya. And I saw National Assembly complaining about CDF. They normally, when we complain about delayed disbursement to counties, they normally thought we are joking. I thought they are powerful. Why would they want to hold hostage CS body over CDF? Counties today, as we talk, the last disbursement was in February, that counties have been disbursed. Up to now, more than 84 billion plus has not been disbursed to counties. So even as they push, because we are serving one Wanjiku, we are not serving different Wanjikus. Money should go to counties and money should go to CDF. You cannot tell us CDF to have money and counties do not have money, Mr. Speaker, going into the future. So the issue of sustainable development goals, colleagues, which I thought is very important, let us push so that we ensure zero hunger, zero poverty in this country, Mr. Speaker, and ensure we protect our lives, even good health and well-being. The government is running universal health coverage under Social Health Authority fund. Kenyans should ensure, Mr. Speaker, to stop a rampage of medical expenses in our villages every weekend. And I can say to you, as the senators sit here, you can see them in their phones, not because they are playing TikTok or they are watching TikTok. They are sending money to a rampage of medical expenses in the villages. The only way to stop it is to ensure that we register with Social Health Authority, Mr. Speaker, SHA, so that it becomes easy. I can tell you 90% of the rampage we attend over the weekends is on medical expenses only. And it is on debts, Mr. Speaker, of deferring funeral expenses. We must, but I want to challenge governors, even as President William Ruto, just a minute, Mr. Speaker, I conclude, even as President William Ruto pushes the issue of SHA, Mr. Speaker, we must ensure that as we push for the registration of SHA, governors must provide medicine in our hospitals and medical services so that we can move as a country. Mr. Speaker, with those many remarks and to allow colleagues to contribute, I beg to second Mr. Speaker, and I hope the Senator Kajwang will talk about climate action when his time comes up. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Senators, I propose the question. Honorable Senators, I propose the question that the Senate notes the report of the Senate delegation to the High-Level Political Forum 2024 on Sustainable Development held in New York, United States of America, from 8th to 17th July 2024, laid on the table of the Senate on Thursday, 20th February 2025. Honorable Senators, I'll now give you an opportunity to make contributions to the motion. Senator Kajwang Moses.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and my apologies. I thought you were putting the question. Allow me to also support this report of the Senate delegation to the High-Level Political Forum on Sustainable Development. Mr. Speaker, there's a lot of duplication of conferences and workshops and fora on similar subjects across the continent. Just last week, I was in Kampala, in Uganda, for the African Regional Forum on Sustainable Development. Again, we were looking at the fulfillment of the Sustainable Development Goals from an African perspective, alongside the fulfillment of Agenda 2063 of the Africa Union Commission. Mr. Speaker, whereas the theme of the high-level political forum on which this report is based was reinforcing the 2030 agenda and eradicating poverty in times of multiple crises, the effective delivery of sustainable, resilient, and innovative solutions, end of quote. The theme of the African Regional Forum on Sustainable Development last week was driving job creation and economic growth through sustainable, inclusive, science, and evidence-based solutions for the 2030 Agenda and Agenda 2063 of the Africa Union. Mr. Speaker, they might sound like a duplication, but I want to believe that they complement each other. The more we talk about the issues facing Africa, the more we talk about the challenges facing the globe, the more we arrive at solutions. And Mr. Speaker, multilateralism is the glue that holds this globe together, particularly when we are facing political and economic crisis. And so, in as much as it might appear as if there are too many talk shops on the same subject, I would still encourage that global players and global partners need to continue talking together. The Sustainable Development Goals, or Agenda 2030, have been a rallying point for economic, social, and political advancement in the globe. Mr. Speaker, as you do recall, we had the Millennium Development Goals, which then morphed into the Sustainable Development Goals, or the 2030 Agenda. But in Africa, we also have the Agenda 2063. What is silent in all these lofty agendas is Vision 2030. And Mr. Speaker, this country came up with a clear, lucid strategy, which envisaged that in the next 4 years, Kenya would be a middle-level, a mid-level, not low mid-level income, but a true middle-income society or middle-income economy. Today, no one talks about Vision 2030. And Mr. Speaker, if you listen to the political players who are supposed to be providing leadership, the conversation has turned to Agenda 2027, which is about re-election, rather than thinking about the next generation and empowering them through building a resilient economic, social, and political infrastructure. Mr. Speaker, the subjects of this high-level forum, which report is on the table, focused on a number of sustainable development goals. It looked at SDG 1, SDG 2, SDG 13, 16, and 17. Today, SDG 1 is still extremely relevant to Kenya. Eradication of poverty in all its forms everywhere. And this was the challenge of the post-independence leadership. Remember, Jomo Kenyatta framed it quite well, that our enemies were poverty, illiteracy, and disease. More than 50 years down the line, poverty still remains an enemy, and poverty still remains a matter of great concern.
Vision 2030 had clear roadmaps on how to ensure that we reduce the number of people living in absolute poverty. Mr. Speaker, how I wish the political class could come back and have a compelling vision. The power of vision sometimes is illustrated in the American example. When the Americans decided they were going to the moon, it was not, it sounded grand, but the presidency, JFK, and the subsequent presidents that came on board were able to rally and mobilize the national psyche. They were able to mobilize and align research, innovation, technology, investments, everything towards achieving that national pride and goal. Kenya needs to go back to the drawing board, look at Vision 2030, which is obviously off track, and come back with a compelling vision. Mr. Speaker, I usually say that the Mwai Kibaki government left us with some things that we could learn from. We had a National Economic and Social Council. It was very highly powered. We even had people who had run economies in Singapore. We had people who had run successful economies outside Africa. Why can't we bring back a National Economic and Social Council anchored in law and given the necessary independence, the necessary facilitation to be able to think through the challenges that this country is facing and come up with a compelling vision that is aligned to the 2030 goals and aligned to the 2063 Africa Union goals. Mwai Kibaki had a dedicated ministry for national planning. Today, we've got a ministry for national, CS in charge of the national treasury and economic planning. And Mr. Speaker, from my observation, since this position was created, most of the cabinet secretaries have focused on the issues of the treasury, the issues of disbursements, the issues of fiscal policy, the issues of ensuring that there is money moving from taxpayers to relevant sectors of the economy. There's been very little attention to economic planning. Mr. Speaker, economic planning and running the national treasury sometimes requires two sets of skills and expertise. And perhaps it is time that the president, even when he's thinking about reorganization of his cabinet, he needs to give thought to an independent national economic planning department or ministry that is distinct from that of the national treasury, that looks after the granary and makes sure that whatever goes in is accounted for and whatever goes out is traceable. Mr. Speaker, another subject that was discussed at this forum was to end hunger and to achieve food security, improve nutrition, and promote sustainable agriculture. Mr. Speaker, 3 weeks ago, the CS for Agriculture was in this house, and we put a question to him on what the country's current agricultural policy is, and he confessed that he's still working on it. How can a country where 33% of the GDP comes from the agricultural sector, leave alone the other linkages that contribute to employment across the entire economy, operate without a clear agricultural policy? The Agriculture and Food Authority, Mr. Speaker, has for almost 8 years been running without a proper board, been running without a director general. This was only formalized last year. The regulations, sector-specific regulations, have not been brought to this House. And Mr. Speaker, I'm happy that this House processed the amendments to the Statutory Instruments Act that provides timelines and provides stiff penalties to cabinet secretaries or regulatory making entities that delay in making regulations. Agriculture is too important to be left on autopilot. The agricultural policy in this country, Mr. Speaker, save for a few sectors like tea, which has largely been run fairly well because the government has not been allowed to interfere too much. The rest of the sector is driven by God. We are on the mercy of God. We will be talking of an improved productivity, of improved production, but Mr. Speaker, it is about rain. Not too long ago, I saw some top leaders going to church and thanking God for answering their prayers and claiming that they were responsible for the rains that fell on the nation and increased food production. We cannot run a country in this kind of contemporary economy, a global setup, by going through those kind of superstitious and backward beliefs that they are the ones who prayed for rain. It is as if prayer for rain is a preserve of just a few people. Mr. Speaker, successful economies have invested in things that go beyond the act of God. They invest in improved seed. They invest in fertilizer. There is no reason why this country, Mr. Speaker, continues to import and import fertilizer blended when we could, not too long ago, Toyota was supposed to set up a plant in Uasin Gishu for blending fertilizer. Let's ask ourselves, what is so special about fertilizer that stops us from getting phosphates from Morocco or getting raw materials from other parts of the country and other parts of the globe and blending it so that we have something that is fit for climatic conditions? We had a week ago, Mr. Speaker, that even donations that are given to us in good faith, we end up blending, repackaging, and selling at a profit. And then we say that that is our agricultural policy. As long as we are approaching agriculture from a perspective of tokenism and a perspective of prayer, then, Mr. Speaker, agriculture will continue to run on autopilot. And those sectors that perhaps are growing are the sectors where the public or where the government has no hands. The horticulture producers, you've got the large-scale producers in places like Narok, in places
Senator John Kinyua, what is your point of order?
I just want my good friend, Senator Kajwang, to clarify whether he believes in prayers, because he's doubting everything. He's saying we can't leave our... So I'm wondering, why does he believe, doesn't he believe in any prayers? No, I just want clarity. There's no standing, it's just clarity, because I know he's a good Christian, and he's a good friend of mine.
Mr. Speaker, I am a Christian and I'm a believer, but there's an intersection between faith and science, and that the church acknowledges. The Catholic Church, the Anglican Church, the Islamic faith, all the faiths believe in that intersection between science and faith. And so, Mr. Speaker, I will not accept a situation where the leadership wants to tell us that they're the ones responsible for the rains through their prayer. Rain is an act of God. It is the benevolence of God that we get rain, and it is not because of human action. Mr. Speaker, as I conclude, I know there are so many things that were captured here. In the morning, I listened to my colleague, Senator Mungatana, talk about the need for a model climate change law, because part of the issues that were discussed at this high-level forum was urgent action to combat climate change and its impacts. And I'm glad to report, Mr. Speaker, that through the Africa Parliamentarian Network on Climate Change, where I sit in the Bureau, we have come up with a model climate change law, which we have circulated to all the parliaments across Africa. Kenya was a leader. Kenya came up with the first Climate Change Act in 2016. But from 2016 to date, a lot of things have changed. Things like carbon trading and carbon markets have become mainstream. The Paris Agreement has received further interpretation and further enhancements. We have new concepts like the new collective quantified goal on climate financing. We have new concerns like reforming the climate financing architecture. And so, Mr. Speaker, I will soon be presenting to the House and to the relevant committee the proposed climate change law so that we can compare it with Kenya's climate change law and see areas where we can enhance. One of the things that we have proposed in the model climate change law is climate budget tagging. In Uganda, Mr. Speaker, when Parliament processes the budget, they have to produce at least 2 certificates. One certificate is that the budget is gender responsive, and the second certificate is that the budget is climate responsive. I would be happy if Kenya adopted that practice, that every budget must be looked at to ensure that issues of climate are mainstreamed and issues of gender are mainstreamed alongside the other considerations that are in the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, even as we go to the next Africa Climate Summit, the first one having been organized and hosted in Kenya, the next one would probably be hosted in Addis Ababa at the Africa Union headquarters. We need to go there with clarity on what we want to achieve. The biggest elephant in the room is that the people who have made riches out of activities that have polluted and aggravated the climate crisis are unwilling to part with money, a little share of the black proceeds that they've gotten, so that other countries can adapt and other countries can mitigate. And that is why when we went to Baku in Azerbaijan for the last conference of parties, whereas African countries and developing countries had insisted that to deal with the climate crisis, we needed $1.3 trillion. The rich nations that have grown rich on the back of polluting and very hazardous activities were unwilling to yield. And out of the 1.3 trillion, it is only 300 trillion that was put on the table. And Mr. Speaker, that 300 trillion, so far there are no clear regulations and guidelines on how it will be utilized, and I hope that that will be the focus of all climate change activists as they proceed to Brazil for the next conference of party, to ensure that there are resources or means of implementation to allow developing countries like those in Africa and even those that are not developing like Kenya, which is a low middle income economy, to be able to adapt, to be able to mitigate. Kenya has done very well when it comes to energy. If you look at our energy mix, it's largely renewable, but what we are producing is not enough. Mr. Speaker, I support this report, I support this motion, and I want to encourage that we ensure that we have adequate resources to allow these members to attend this high-level forum, because it helps to sharpen them and it helps to bring them up to date on contemporary global issues. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Kajwang. And Senator Kajwang, as much as I agree with you that rain is the act of God, but even in the Bible and in the Islamic faith, we have seen several stories whereby prophets have prayed for rain. In the Bible, I'm sure there's the story of Elijah, who predicted a drought and then went ahead and prayed to God for rain so that to end the drought. So let us preach the right today. Senator Gloria.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Before I support this report, I want to encourage my colleague there that in God we trust. And all science interventions are good. Some can even be applicable in areas, but in God we trust, ultimately. Mr. Speaker, I want to rise to support this report on the high-level political forum on sustainable development goals, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, briefly, I just want to draw the attention of the House to point 5, which is the objectives of this forum, Mr. Speaker, and particularly on A and D, Mr. Speaker. On A, it says that the objectives of this high-level political forum were initially outlined in the General Assembly in the Resolution 66-288, and subsequently in the format and organizational aspects of the high-level political forum, sustainable development, as part of the Resolution of 67-290. Mr. Speaker, on A, it says that the objective here is to provide political leadership, guidance, and recommendations for sustainable development goals, Mr. Speaker. I was thinking on how to support this report, Mr. Speaker, and I realized that we have all the facts with us here. As legislators, we are guided to legislate for the people in terms of what the people need down in the grassroots, but also, as we are guided here on this high-level political forum, in terms of sustainable development goals, Mr. Speaker. And I was just reflecting on some of the bills that have been presented at the floor of this House, the upper house, Mr. Speaker. And I wanted to congratulate my colleagues who have actually been showcasing that they are interested in legislating for sustainable development goals, Mr. Speaker. Goal number 1 on no poverty, zero poverty, Mr. Speaker. Most of the pieces of legislation that we have here touch on how to bridge that gap between the rich and the poor, Mr. Speaker. Yesterday, I finally moved through the second reading my bill on period poverty, Mr. Speaker. That is just one of the pieces of legislation that we have at the floor of the House, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, on goal 4, you know the SDGs are 17. On goal 4, you have the quality education, Mr. Speaker. And one of the indicators for this SDG goal 4 is that you have attendance rates at the primary schools and at the colleges, Mr. Speaker. And all this, some of the pieces of legislation that I've seen here, including the bill on child protection by Senator Miraj, Mr. Speaker, is actually speaking to address goal 4, Mr. Speaker. As I support this report, I also want to talk about goal 5, which is to achieve the gender equality, Mr. Speaker. Recently, as a woman of Kenya and who has benefited from the affirmative program to represent women in this House, Mr. Speaker. We have had several conversations in the public about femicide, about GBV, about certain issues that are combating the women of Kenya, Mr. Speaker. And some of the conversations have been very saddening, Mr. Speaker, the latest one being that highlighted that, in fact, some of the girls or all of the girls who have been victims, unfortunate victims of femicide, are victims because they are looking for money, Mr. Speaker. As I have seen that the CS nominee of gender has been approved by the committee in the National Assembly, Mr. Speaker, I would like to encourage the legislators, in line with this high-level political forum report, to sit down with the CS nominee for gender, because they have approved her as a committee, Mr. Speaker, and perhaps sensitize her on the Sustainable Development Goal number 5, which is to achieve gender equality with regards to certain matters as femicide. The sensitivity and the importance of us as legislators and leaders of this country understanding a simple fact such that we cannot blame a victim, Mr. Speaker, and purport to be pushing the ideology of the SDGs that are being highlighted here, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, because of the time limitation that I have, you can see that I'm trying to really hurry through my points. I want to talk about Sustainable Goal 8, which is decent work and the economic growth in this country, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Kenya Kwanza government has really tried, in terms of this SDG, to provide a program under the labor export program, Mr. Speaker, where we have the GTG, our Minister for Labor, going out to negotiate with other governments to try and, ring-fence certain jobs, whether it is manual laborer jobs, whether it is plant operator jobs, drivers, and all these other jobs of dignity out there, so that our youth and the many Kenyans who are jobless can be able to go abroad and offer their skill set to those particular economies while they earn money, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to say, under this SDG Goal 8, Mr. Speaker, it is very unfortunate that we as a government have really intentionally tried to push this SDG to go out and ring-fence all the jobs that we have there, Mr. Speaker, whether in Saudi Arabia, in Dubai, Germany, Canada, Mr. Speaker, all these other places. And it is so unfortunate to see the holders of these offices that are there, including the Ministry of Labor, butchering a well-intended program, Mr. Speaker. The fact that we have had a series of so many highlights of the fraudulent activities of agents who are colluding with some of the officers, including high officers at the Ministry of Labor, to con Kenyans, Mr. Speaker. Kenyans who are innocently trying to go out to seek a dignified living by working on these jobs that the government has purportedly gone out to look for, Mr. Speaker. I want to just take this opportunity to say that it is a shame that as the holders of this government, Mr. Speaker, I'm speaking from a point of government, Mr. Speaker. I've been nominated by this government to represent women. And as a nominee, I also have to be able to call out some of the things that are happening within government, Mr. Speaker. At this moment, as I support this report, I want to say, Mr. Speaker, it is a shame for the Minister of Labor, Mr. Speaker, to oversight all these activities where Kenyans are really suffering, Mr. Speaker. Kenyans have been conned, thousands and thousands of Kenya shillings, as they're trying to go out to seek for work, Mr. Speaker, as they're trying to go out to offer their skill sets in these very harsh conditions, Mr. Speaker. We know that Saudi Arabia is not the best place to work, but Kenyans who have no other opportunity because it's not available locally offer their skill set. But we as government, under the Ministry of Labor, Mr. Speaker, are actually not safeguarding our Kenyans, Mr. Speaker. And so I even want to congratulate the sponsor of the labor migration bill, Mr. Speaker, and when that bill comes to the floor of the House, because I know it is on second reading, I do hope that we all pass it, Mr. Speaker, because then we'll be able to deal with curbing all these fraudulent activities, some of them that are brewing, Mr. Speaker, all the way to the office of the Cabinet Secretary, Mr. Speaker. We have rogue agents sitting in the boardrooms of the Minister of Labor and conning Kenyans, Mr. Speaker. I have had the unfortunate experience of actually gathering Kenyans from Bobasi constituency telling them that the government has provided a really good program to ensure that they get jobs out there, Mr. Speaker, only to deliver them to the hands of conmen who are sitting in the Ministry of Labor, Mr. Speaker. So on a day like today when I'm supporting this report, I want to take this opportunity, Mr. Speaker, again, to ask my party leader, because it is an ongoing issue, to ask my party leader to really stop whatever he's doing and look into this issue of the labor migration, Mr. Speaker. Because what is happening is we are not only sending Kenyans to conmen, but we are harboring thieves, we are harboring conmen in the name of cabinet secretaries and government officers, Mr. Speaker. And it is unfortunate. I feel very embarrassed sometimes to have to stand and speak like this about a government that I support, about a government that has nominated me, Mr. Speaker. But I want to say that there are things that I draw the line, Mr. Speaker, on that point, Mr. Speaker. So today, as I support this report on the which, by the way, has been tabled by the delegation. Mr. Speaker, you know me, I don't get the opportunity to be in any delegation that goes anywhere, Mr. Speaker. So my work is to wait for their reports. When they bring their reports to the House, I read the reports, and then I'm like, oh, is that what you guys went to do in Maputo? Is that what you guys went to do in... But I don't tire. I don't tire because I also believe God has put me here for a reason. So for all other delegations that are going, I continue to urge you to send me the reports. While you go out there and represent us, I will be here supporting the reports and pushing the agenda, Mr. Speaker, because I believe that is why God has put me here. And I want to conclude by saying this delegation did a very good job, Mr. Speaker, and I want to support this report on the high-level political forum on sustainable development goals, and I want to continue to urge my fellow legislators to legislate with this in mind, with the guidelines of the SDGs, and so that we can be able to represent our people and push for development for our people down to the grassroots. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
There being no senators wishing to contribute, I call upon the mover to reply.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and due to time, I really want to thank my dear colleagues, Senator Gloria, Senator Cherargei, and Senator Kajwang, for their rich input. I have really noted the rich and quite a very good, should I say, input and advisory from Senator Gloria on economic growth. That is, an economic SDG 8 touches also on youth employment, equal pay and labor rights, also on tourism and job creation. I really want to thank her on that, and I have really noted quite a few from Senator Cherargei and Senator Kajwang, who was also in the same kind of summit in Uganda, organized by the UN. It was quite a forum, I think, for a few days, and he says, comparing to what this forum was holding, it's more or less, the same. And so all these SDGs have to be achieved. Mr. Speaker, due to time, I have noted all that, all the inputs. I want to thank them all. What I want to request, Mr. Speaker, is that Mr. Speaker, can we defer the putting of the question to the later date, pursuant to Standing Order 66.3? Thank you.
The putting of the question has been deferred. Next order.
Order number 11, motion, establishment of the National Teaching and Referral Hospitals in Kenya.
Senator Marumo is not here. That order has been deferred. Next order.
Order number 12, motion, consolidation of bursary funds for equitable access to education in Kenya.
Order number 12 is deferred. Honorable Senators, there being no other business on the order paper, the Senate stands adjourned until later
today, Wednesday, 16th April 2025 at 2:30 p.m.